What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, will we see former unified WBC, WBA welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, who has 30 wins, 1 loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach? Will we see Keith Thurman now that his initial plan A, was to fight undefeated unified 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol the True Spence Jr., who has 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach? He's now going in a different direction. Can we see Keith Thurman accept a fight with this man, undefeated welterweight superstar title contender, the phenom, as I call him, Jaron Boots Ennis, who is 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. Jaron Ennis was last seen in the ring January 7th when he took on Karen Chuakazine. He won a unanimous decision victory over him. He won a 12-round unanimous decision. I felt like Jaron Boots Ennis won every single round in that fight. Now, Jaron Boots Ennis, he recently put a post up and he said that fight date coming soon, right? Now, again, the highly anticipated undisputed welterweight showdown between Errol Spence Jr., who holds 3 belts, and undefeated 3-division world champion superstar boxer, who is the widely considered to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford is former undisputed junior welterweight world champion. Terence Bud Crawford, is the WBO reigning welterweight world champion, widely considered to be the best fighter in the world with a record of 39 wins, no loss, no draw, 30 big wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach, right? So it looks like we're going to get Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford June 17th, Las Vegas, Nevada, possibly at the T-Mobile Arena. I believe it's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena because they're looking to announce it Saturday, April 22nd at the T-Mobile Arena when Gervonta Tank Davis takes on King Ryan Garcia. So I believe that, Keith Thurman was the plan B for Errol Spence. That has been widely reported, and that's the worst kept secret in boxing. So with that said, Errol Spence, he expressed and explained he has zero interest in fighting Keith Thurman since they both had Keith Thurman unified the belts March of 2017. Errol Spence won his first world title May of 2017. Errol Spence was looking to unify against Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman, well, he resisted, and the fight never happened. And so now Keith Thurman has been inactive. He fought 3 times in 4 years. Since 2017, in 6 years. Keith Thurman has fought 3 times since the fight in March of 2017, where he fought Jose Luis. Who did he fight? Josito Lopez. He fought Manny Pacquiao, and he fought Mario Barrios. Okay, so in 6 years, Keith Thurman has fought 3 times, right? And so with that said, Keith Thurman miraculously jumped to the #1 mandatory WBC challenger for Errol Spence's World Boxing Council, better known as WBC title. And the board of 32 members and President Mauricio Suleiman appointed Keith Thurman as the #1 challenger over this man, Jaron Boots Ennis, right? He leapfrogged Jaron Ennis. So Jaron Ennis and his father, trainer, manager, Bozy Ennis, as you see here, they decided to go the route of the International Boxing Federation, better known as the IBF, with President Mr. Peoples to be the mandatory challenger for Errol Spence IBF title, right? Well, now Errol Spence is going in a different direction, and more than likely, Errol Spence is going to, if he beats Terence Crawford June 17th, well, you're going to see Errol Spence move up to 154. And if Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence, well, you're going to see Terence Crawford move up to 154. So neither Keith Thurman nor Jaron Ennis is going to fight Errol Spence or Terence Crawford for those titles. Now, they may be able to get a fight with Errol Spence or Terence Crawford at 154, but at 147 for the titles, it's not going to happen because both fighters are going to move up to 154 after this fight. Plain and simple. Okay, neither one of them is staying there. Win, lose, or draw. Neither one of them is going to stay at 147. Okay, the only hope for one of them staying at 147 would be if Terence Crawford was to win or lose If Terence Crawford wins, he's definitely going up to make himself the mandatory challenger for a 3-time junior middleweight world champion, who's the undisputed junior middleweight world champion, superstar boxer in Jamel Lyons Only Charlo, who's top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world. Terence Crawford is going to make himself the mandatory for Jamel Charlo. So if Terence Crawford loses, he may look to regain the titles at 147 because he's not the biggest guy. He started his career at 130, won the title at 135, 140, and 147. So Terence Crawford may stick around at 147 to regain the titles, have another big fight with Keith Thurman or Jaron Boots Ennis, rectify himself. But at this stage in his career at 35, I just don't see it. I think he's going to move up in weight. And with that said, maybe he could fight Keith Thurman at 154 if Terence Crawford was to lose. But I can make one thing's for certain, two things for sure. If Errol Spence wins, he's not fighting anybody at 147 after that. If he fight Keith Thurman or Boots Ennis, it's going to be at 154. So that leaves us with this fight, right? Why don't we get Keith Thurman versus Jaron Boots Ennis as the co-main event? And the rest of the card, you could just fill in. You don't have to worry about stacking the card. Put the money into Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and then put the money into Keith Thurman, Jaron Ennis. And then the rest of the card, you could put Frank Martin on the card. You could put Steve Nelson, Terence Crawford. Frank Martin is a man down Errol Spence fighter. Okay, put him on the card. Put Steve Nelson is a close friend of Terence Crawford. You could put him on the undercard, right? Frank Martin is not going to cost you a lot of money. Steve Nelson not going to cost you a lot of money. And there goes your 4 opening fights, right? You could have Steve Nelson open up, Frank Martin the second, and then you can have Jaron Ennis, Keith Thurman, and then Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, right? That would be a huge night of boxing. That would be a huge card, right? So that just makes sense to me. Let's get this fight happening, right? What is Keith Thurman going to wait around? And he's been inactive again for 14 months. Okay, we're in April. The last time we saw Keith Thurman was February 25th, 2022. February 5th of 2022, right? Once again, a whole year Keith Thurman has been inactive. Go ahead and fight Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, there's another guy, Manus Stanionis. He was waiting for the fight with Virgil Ortiz. That fell through because Virgil Ortiz had another issue with his blood. But, there's fights out there. But this would be a mega fight as the co-main event. And it's the heir to who's got next. Because, again, like I said, the winner of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, the loser of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, they're moving up to 154. You're not going to see the winner of that fight at 147. You're not going to see the loser of that fight at 147. So with that said, this is the heir, right? We get to figure it out. We get to find out, right? Get Keith Thurman versus Jaron Boots Ennis, a massive fight, a big payday for Keith Thurman, a recognition, a big fight for Jaron Boots Ennis. It only makes sense. And then, the winner of that fight my man Stanionis for the vacant belt, right? And this could be for the WBC interim belt. This fight with Keith Thurman and Jaron Ennis. And then, they could officially have the WBC on the line as a form of unification. What I mean by that is this: the same way they did with Caleb Smith and Canelo Alvarez. Okay, when David Benavidez lost his belt on the scale, it was vacated. The WBC title was vacated. They allowed Caleb Smith, who was the WBA champion, to fight Canelo Alvarez in a unification bout with the WBC on the line. They could do the same thing. Manus Stanionis is the WBA champion. He'll be elevated to the WBA super champion should Errol Spence beat Terence Crawford and move up. He'll be elevated to the super champion. Then we could have Jaron Ennis or Keith Thurman, whoever win the fight. I'm favoring Jaron Ennis, but whoever wins the fight, they could fight Amanda Stanionis for the vacant WBC title, right? And Stanionis' WBA title. You understand? And then from that point forward, you can figure out the IBF and you can figure out the WBO from that point moving forward. Now you have Alexis Roca, who is the WBO mandatory. So he could fight for the WBO vacant belt against another fighter, against Villa or something of that magnitude. Almost have like a tournament style to pick up the belts. So, that would be huge. That would be huge for the sport of boxing. So that way we still have a face of the welterweight division. We still have a champion in the welterweight division. And we can move forward as Errol Spence or Terence Crawford start their journey at 154. Plain and simple. It only makes sense. But will Keith Thurman accept this challenge? Would Keith Thurman accept this type of fight? Initially, Keith Thurman, he pretended he didn't even know who Jaron Ennis was. And a few days later, he said he knew who he was, reminded him of himself, Terence Crawford, and Floyd Mayweather. So it's safe to say he knows who Boots Ennis is. But this would be a huge co-main event. And again, like I said, you don't have to stack the card crazy. You could put Frank Martin, you could put Steve Nelson. Those are 4 fights on the pay-per-view side, period. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Drop a like, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. That's all I got for y'all, man. Let me know what y'all think. Is this the fight that they should make? Jaron Ennis versus Keith Thurman as the co-main event to Errol Spence, Terence Crawford? Let me know what y'all think. Let's push for it. Tell them this is